What is up, everybody? Thank you for checking out the Pat at a Hill podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Christopher. Today, I'm joined by Albert Gonzales, artist. You can find him at Trebla Art on Instagram. But where else can they find you? You have a website, anything like that?
Yeah, website is albertgonzalesart.com. That's Gonzales with an S.
Yeah.
A lot of people mix it up.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming out. You're a different guest sometimes. I want to bring different creative people. But we did meet at the comedy club.
Yeah.
You were pursuing, or not pursuing, I guess that's the wrong word, but you signed up to do the open mics and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's touch on that a little bit. What made you take a break from painting and creating, the visual arts to get on stage and actually try comedy at the open mics?
Dude, honestly, like low key, like art is helping me pursue the stuff that I want to do eventually in comedy. Like, it allows me to, have a lot of free time, and so I'm always writing. I'm always either writing stories or writing jokes. My wife, she does not have the same sense of humor that I have, and art is obviously very creative, right? And there's a lot of times when, especially going to art events and a whole bunch of different type of functions, always leaving with stories and all these crazy things, and I don't really have an outlet to share these opinions or share these thoughts. And years ago, I think maybe 2012 is when I first went on stage for the first time at a open mic.
Oh, really?
Laugh Out Loud.
Okay.
And I had one of my buddies, Andre, come with me because I was so nervous, and I went up. I ate shit, but I remember getting up there and feeling so happy, so not confident, but just the ability to just...
I survived.
Survive and just say whatever was on my mind at that time. And now, I think when we met, it was a lot more refined from that first time, because I kind of at least had an idea of a structure, because since then I had watched a lot of comedy and gone to performances when I could. And
your first time, did you have anything planned or written out?
Oh yeah, I did. I did. It was about dating. At the time, I was working at Home Depot, and it was about dating older women that I met at Home Depot.
Yeah,
and it was kind of funny. I had some small laughs.
Yeah,
but. I love doing it. I want to do it more. And, what I was saying about like the art helping me pursue some of my comedy is, again, writing. I've been working on learning how to do videography, cinematography. So along with the writing is like skits and, just like funny shit that I want to do.
Yeah.
And the art has allowed me to get these tools so that when I'm ready to, have the production to make these things, I'm able to. And just a lot of anxiety and preparation that I don't think I'm ready for, but
What are the things besides comedy and painting? Like, were you into music? Did you do bands, or did you do like rap or anything?
Oh, dude,
like that?
I did a lot of rap.
Yeah.
A lot of rap. In high school, me and my buddies, we would,
So you started like looking for something artistically to do, so a way to perform or all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what was the rap stuff like?
Dude, it was just a lot of, Texas style freestyles, in the lunchroom. I had a friend that would called Cheddar Bob, who would beatbox in the circle, and me and my friends, we would all freestyle. And in high school, I was pretty notorious for throwing like big house parties.
Really?
And we would have like the PA system, and occasionally would get the mics and throw on an instrumental, and me and my friends would like freestyle at house parties. And kind of got like a little reputation for just freestyling all the time, and was able to see a lot of my friends who continued their music paths, do some really cool stuff and continue to do like really great things in music for the city. So now I'm just doing another route. I love music, but I don't think my strong point was rap. It was something I just.
So what other things did you try? Did you try like acting or like? You said you're getting into like the videography and photography and stuff. Did you try that before?
In high school, I auditioned for a part in a school play. I got it, but then I wasn't able to be in the play because I had other commitments for like basketball and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So I tried to do like a lot of stuff.
What was the play? What was the role?
It was a comedic role. It was a guy who was like really broke and wore a potato bag. I forgot exactly what the role was, but it was like a comedic role.
Yeah.
And like I was supposed to wear this like potato bag as like an article of clothing and like say some funny stuff. And,
Yeah.
But I never did it. But I remember auditioning and just kind of having my fingers crossed, hoping that I got the part because I didn't want a main role. I just wanted something that was just like satirical and kind of funny, and I just didn't do it.
That was the only time you pursued that the theater acting, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I just wasn't really feeling it. I just wanted to get it, but I didn't want to actually do it.
I wanted to do it. It's just at the time I was in high school, so I had like all these other things. Like I was so into basketball in high school, so it was like basketball first. And now looking back, like I didn't. We lost and got our ass whipped. So it was like, yeah, I could have just took that weekend off and, and
it didn't matter as much. Bro.
Yeah, it
I could have been. I could have been potato guy.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So, like in high school, you like, when did you start painting? Like, actually, like when did you discover that?
That was in 2014. So, like, growing up, I was always considered like creative.
Yeah,
I always wanted to doodle. I was always doodling.
In 2014, that's after high school.
After high school,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So leading up from like as a kid until a kid in high school, this and that, I was always just doodling. But it wasn't until 2014 where it's like, okay, I want to paint. I want to create something of value. I want to create something for people to be proud of and have in their home. And that was just like a whole nother learning curve because I didn't know how to really use a paintbrush. I didn't know what type of materials to paint on, and didn't know how to sell art and how to market that or how to market myself.
Yeah.
And
so how do you start? Like, what's the open mic for painting? Like, how do you start into that?
To start into painting, the one thing I always would suggest people, because right away a lot of artists is like, oh, I want to go into a gallery. I want to have a gallery show.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like, we can mentally think we're ready, but a lot of times it's like you want to, just like, kind of comedy, you want to do the open mics. You want to, eat shit. You want to, have those learning experiences. You just don't want to get a paid gig and mess up. So what I tell artists is like, there's so many free art events going on in the city. Some places offer free vending, some places offer very minimal, like $10, $25 to vend. I tell them, build a small body of work, do as many of these vending opportunities as you can, but also be very specific. So like if you're painting portraits of people, like really think about that market, like what kind of market buys portraits. Like it's kind of all over the place, but if you want to do portraits, you're in San Antonio, paint a portrait of Selena, probably sell fast. Go to an event, test out the market, learn and do your own research on your own business or your own technique or whatever. So do as many vending opportunities as you can early on to test your market, and also test your prices, because I've seen some people that are like off the bat probably haven't sold many pieces at all, and they're like, that's $3,000. Like, okay, that's cool. I'm sure you can sell it. You just got to know your market. But if you're just putting $3,000 on it just to put $3,000 on it, like there's a lot of stuff that goes behind that $3,000. If someone asks you, "Oh, why are you selling that for $3,000?" "Oh, because I just want $3,000 for it." It's like, okay,
yeah.
If you have the history of kind of building up to that $3,000, then you have something that can solidify like your place in that market. So I just tell artists, do vending, learn your market. Learn, your capabilities as far as like marketing yourself, and just do as much as that as you can. Fail a lot. Like, you know, if you haven't had a opportunity to set up at a vending place and not sell anything at all, like sometimes you gotta have some of those experiences just to like humble you and kind of really understand, like, maybe you didn't sell yourself, maybe you just weren't talking enough, you know, maybe you just didn't, maybe you didn't ask the right questions.
Yeah.
You know, back when I started out, I was in the streets. Like, I was across the street from the Alamo, just because I knew if anyone came to San Antonio and they were staying downtown,
Yeah.
they were from out of town,
The
they had
tourists,
money to be there, and, you know, they had some sort of money to spend, right? So back then, you could find me on the street, and Pat, if you were to see me and you would have been like, hey, man, I like that, I would have been like, how much you willing to pay for it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you would give it to them like
yeah,
donations, or you give me the price.
Yeah. And
Yeah, because it is tough to put a price on something, because okay, you want them to take it, you want them to enjoy it, but you don't want them to reject, you know, whatever price. And they like, a lot of people don't like paying for stuff. They want stuff for free,
especially in San Antonio.
Yes, dude, and just like they're like, no, I liked it, I like it, I want to take it, but yeah, but like, what am I going to get out of it? You know, so it is tough. So I understand like the whole like, how were those, like, what kind of offers did you get when you said you named the price?
Shit. I remember one time someone told me, like, oh, I'll give you $5. I remember being so offended, but then I remember thinking, like, I asked him.
Like, but like, for what are we talking about? Like, how big is a piece?
It was a pretty, like, maybe it's like a 18 by 24.
Oh,
and at that time I was thinking at least like 25, $50.
At least.
At least. And then he's like, oh, like $5. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I asked him the question, like,
it is rough too, because like you're like, oh man, $5, that's insulting. But you don't want to tell them no. Well, because like you did tell them like, okay, well, you start the bidding.
One thing I'll never forget, like on the opposite end, was I was set up at Viva Taco Land back before it was this like Velvet Taco, which I'll never step foot in and eat a taco.
Oh,
there.
Really?
But back when it was Taco Land and before it was all, you know, lit up and nice, like I was there back when it was like not so nice at all.
Yeah.
And I remember setting up, having this like large painting. It's like 4 feet by 4 feet. And it was a really good abstract piece of mine. And this guy, you know, dressed up, you know, looked like a realtor who just got out of like a showing or something. And he was with this lady. And he comes up to me and I'm working on this painting. And he goes, oh, how much is that painting? I was like, oh, $100. And he's like, this face that he made of like damn, like he looked upset because he really was interested in this painting. And I told him $100, and he was like, man, he's like, if you would have told me $1,000, I would have bought it.
Wow, dude.
And I was like, I meant it's $1,000. And he was like, yeah, dude. Like he kind of laughed and he was like, I don't buy any art under $1,000, and he's like, it's just like a part like of how he collected art, and I'm not sure if it was true or not.
Yeah,
but you know, he might have just been talking shit. But
what do you think that mentality is though? Like he wants the artist to have that much, not respect, but like,
well, the way he told me was like, I didn't value my work enough. And he's like, this, I would have paid $1,000 for this.
See, and that's rough because there's a lot of people that would say $100, all right. You know, like that's a lot of money for this thing. Even though it is a lot of work, it's a lot of time, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the time, the effort, and the art on top of that too. So I mean, like, but yeah, the $1,000, and he's like, well, you know, if you don't value it, why am I going to?
And that's exactly what he said. He said, you know, I would have paid $1,000 for this,
but that's also very rare. A lot of people don't think like that.
Yeah,
you know.
But it also gave me this idea of like, because at that time I hadn't had a solo art show yet. And, you know, even at that time, you know, I was still kind of doing it like, oh, what would you pay for it? Or, you know, really negotiating a lot on my work back then. But having that experience for me was just like this sign of like, I got to start valuing myself more. Because if I keep doing this, like, I'm going to miss opportunities like that. Like, like, you know, like now, for instance, like, people ask me, you know, oh, how much is that painting? Like, I tell them the price. Like, this is what it's worth. Like, I don't negotiate as far as like, oh, you know, like I really want you to have it. This and that.
You don't list the price on the pieces?
Not a lot.
So they have to ask you. Mm-hmm. What's the mentality behind that? Rather than have it posted up, you want them to ask, so to give you the number. Was that a trial and error thing, or that you've always been like, you ask me and I'll tell you, rather than like, let's set the price here?
It just works in like different settings. So like, if there's going to be like a lot of people in an area, like my studio, for instance, sometimes, like, you know, there's a lot of people there wanting to just look, and then you have a lot of people that are like really interested in collecting. So I feel it's also a great opportunity to have that conversation.
Okay.
But a lot of times, you know, you can go shopping for cars or whatever. You're gonna look around and you see the price and you're okay, keep walking. But imagine if those price tags weren't there, right?
I see.
You see the car that you really want.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, like, how much is this car? And then that salesperson is not just going to tell you the price.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you everything that car has and why it's that price. So for paintings, you know, I just don't tell them the price and give them proper introduction, tell them a little bit like what I've been doing in my career, how I got to where I'm at, and then get to the price.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is what you're paying for. Like, you're paying for all this work that's been put in to get to this price. And sometimes, you know, it works. Just putting the price, because some people will see it and be like, you know, probably not right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get people that's just like, I want that.
Yeah. So we've only met, like, I've only known of you for about 5 months, maybe something like that. But since I started following you on Instagram, it seems like a lot of stuff has taken off. You know, like, I think you said on your podcast that you had an installation done at UTSA. Was that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, so what does that mean, or what did that mean? Because is it still running thing, or was it a?
Yeah. So UTSA has bought some of my work, and recently they hung a show or curated a show over at the Texas Center for Culture downtown by the Hemisphere. Yeah. And they selected my painting along with like 11 other like internationally known artists. Okay. And my painting's in this like just a huge show, and it's just it's still right now, even just thinking that I'm included in a show like that, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. And
was that like the first like big thing that's happened?
No, the first really big show that I was a part of that just blew my mind was a show called Voz, which was another show curated by UTSA. And what they did was they selected 65 artists from their permanent collection, and they curated it at the Centro de Artes downtown at the Market Square. And all the artists that I was featured with were, you know, are artists that I look up to and, you know, idolize. And that was, you know, 2018. So I was still like super early into my career. So to be included in a show like that back then, like, it was a huge, like, is a huge accomplishment for me. Yeah. And you know, I had this cool story tied to that building, because back when I was just starting out, like, I would stand in front of that building with my paintings during like Fiesta, and like hoping people would just like acknowledge what I was doing or what I was creating. And then, you know, fast forward, you know, I was in that same building showcasing my art with like the people that I look up to. Yeah. And it's
you born and raised in San Antonio?
South side and west side.
South side and west side?
Yeah.
Where'd you graduate?
Lanier.
So to see things like happen, take off in San Antonio, like after like, it kind of hits different, right? Like rather than like, okay, well, it's being shown in Austin or California, New York. I mean, even though those are big things, like you still want the hometown kind of like, like validation type of thing. Yeah. Right. Man, that's awesome, dude. So that's all pretty new. How was the start of this? Like, how was the beginning?
It was like some of the roughest shit I ever been through, man. Very humbling. Yeah. That like didn't really have much, you know, support from people. A lot of people were just like, "Oh, just get a job, you know, do that on the side. That's good gas money." Yeah. You know, like selling.
That's
that
cute.
Stuff.
That's fun. But
Yeah.
what are you gonna do for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's tough. Well, when do you graduate? Like, how old are you?
I'm 32.
32. So still young, dude.
Yeah.
Still young. But yeah, like you kind of have that thing, like you don't feel supported, even though they're just concerned, worried.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're not, like, this good. I'm glad you have this, but like, really, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Like when you get hurt, like, are you gonna go to the doctor? It's like,
Yeah.
like, I gotta get, insurance and
how you gonna pay
stuff
for the
like
medical
that.
bills? You know?
Yeah. So, like, even now, being able to do the things that I do, like, I still sit there sometimes in my studio and just think, like, damn, like, I'm paying all these bills, but being able to do that through my art, like, again, it's just I just want to inspire other people, whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
Any field that they're doing, it's just like it can be done. It just takes like the sacrifice.
Yeah.
To make it happen, because it's a shitload of work. And
how long do you think that struggle lasts before you started saying, like, okay, I'm on the right path?
I'd say for me, like a whole year.
Maybe
like a whole year and a couple months, because I was barely getting by with like paying the bills that I was starting to have towards the end of that first year. But I just kept figuring it out. It's like, oh man, I barely had enough to eat after paying rent. But it's like, okay, like every time I paid rent, it was like, okay, I gotta make a little bit more next time so I could, eat better and stuff like that. And that's what all it was just readjusting my goals as I started to hit, my goals. It was just like readjusting and coming up with a more evolved game plan of how to hit these new goals.
Yeah, you have this thing, the I don't want to mess it up. What do you call it? The weeby?
Oh, wabi sabi.
Wabi sabi. All right, sorry, man. I was really trying. I wanted to say that. I wanted like to pull it off, like wabi sabi. Like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. But I'm really dumb with words. And then we were talking about earlier. Like, we lost an hour, and I'm kind of hungover from edibles, so I'm not at 100%. But I was. That's the one thing I want. I could fuck up your name. I could fuck up your Instagram, but I wanted to get the wabi sabi right, because, like, oh yeah, he fucking knows. Oh fuck. Anyway,
Weeby CB.
Yeah,
that's funny.
the sabi blah blah blah. But so okay. So what is it?
Wabi sabi. It's a Japanese philosophy, which is about embracing the beauty in the imperfect.
Okay. But isn't that what you call like the kind of art?
Yeah.
The series. Okay, so your series. Okay, so you have several different series like that, or is that like your main thing?
Yeah. So the Wabi Sabi series are like my flower paintings.
Yeah.
And I do other stuff too. Like I do some abstract stuff. I do some figurative.
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
But my Wabi Sabi series is probably just like my most
trademark, not most notable. Notable type of thing. Yeah.
And what I like to say is it allows me to do other stuff. So like, it allows me to work on my abstract paintings. It allows me to go do stand-up comedy. Being able to do that series and have people collect it and buy it allows me to have some free time and do the other stuff that I love to do as well.
When did you discover that? Like, when did you find, like, oh, this is a series that... When did that series start? How did that series start?
That started in 2016. So in early 2016, I had sold...
Like your hat that you're wearing, that's a wabi sabi?
Yeah, so my wabi sabi hat.
Okay,
so
yeah.
It's going to be coming out soon, so make sure y'all...
Yeah.
So in 2015, early 2016, I got my first studio. And then just about a month or two after I got my first studio, the president of UTSA at the time, Dr. Ricardo Romo, walked into my studio, and he bought 5 large abstract paintings for UTSA. And for the first time in my life, I was able to cash a check, pay rent, pay bills, and have some money left over to do stuff that I wanted to do. And, I didn't go to art school. But
nothing.
No.
Self-taught, everything.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so one thing that I wanted to do with that money is, because I was always seeing these masterpieces of art online or in books, I told myself, like, I wanted now that I have this money, I want to go see these pieces in person. And that's what I did. So as soon as I cashed that check, paid my bills,
I saw that. Yeah.
I booked a trip to Philadelphia to go to the Barnes Foundation, which is an amazing art foundation, amazing collection of art. I seen, the master's works in there, and then from there I took the train to New York. And while in New York, I went to the MoMA and the Met, seen some more masterpieces that like inspired me. And then my last day, I'll tell this story. So my last day in New York City, me and my wife were riding our these like bikes through Soho, and we pull up to a stop sign, and I see this guy in all New York gear, New York hat, New York jacket, walk across the street in front of me. And I look at my wife, and I'm like, that's fucking Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And I throw my bike to the ground, and I run up to him. And the last day in Philadelphia, I went to the Michelin-S store, and they had dropped, like, those vintage Spurs warm-up jackets. My last day in Philadelphia, Michelin-S had dropped that merch that morning.
Really?
And I bought like all the Spurs gear that they dropped. And the way it works with the Michelin-S headquarters is they drop it there at the headquarters, and then 3 months after that, like all the U.S. stores get it. So I had Spurs gear that people weren't going to have in 3 months. So anyway, I'm rocking that shit in New York. And
did you just so happen upon that, or you like
no,
knew
I just
about
so happened upon it.
Wow.
Like that's so yeah.
I love that shit.
So I'm rocking all that stuff in New York.
Yeah.
I see Spike Lee, and I go up to him, and he turns around and he's like, "Are you from San Antonio?" So I was
How do you know?
So I have all my Spurs gear. I have this photo on my Instagram of me and him. He's in his New York stuff. I'm in my Spurs stuff.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was just starting off in my career, and I was just like a little fangirl, because I'm like, I'm here for I'm here on this trip. I came to get inspired, this and that, and I'm like, I'm meeting freaking New York legend, like this is even more inspiring. And I told him, I was like, one day I want to be like you for San Antonio. Like I want to be like on that level one day, like creatively, where people just tie me to my city like that. And he's
like, they know that name. Everybody knows that name.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, dude, like that's let's take this picture. And he kept going. And
what sucks is that like that encounter means so much to you, but he gets that all the time.
Well, check this out. So check this out. It gets crazy. So last day in New York, I fly back. That night, I have a dream that inspired the Wabi Sabi series. I have this dream of these colors floating down from the ceiling of my studio. I wake up that next morning. I draw that on a napkin while me and my wife are having breakfast, and I tell her I got to paint this today. So we finish breakfast. I go to the studio. I buy the same size canvas I saw in my dream, buy all the colors I saw in my dream, and I go and I paint that painting that I saw in my dream. And that was the very first one of the series that has literally changed my life.
Wow, dude.
So, fast forward to this past June last year.
Yeah.
I'm in New York City on this like paid for trip. I'm a creative director for this one project, and they fly me out there, and I'm doing like work stuff with my art. And my last day in New York City, I had this idea. I had packed a painting with me. I took a 16 by 20 painting of my Wabi Sabi series, and as I was packing it, my wife was like, "What are you taking that for? You gonna sell it?"
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, "New York City, you just never know what the hell's gonna happen in New York." So I was like, "I want to take this because you just never know." My last day in New York City, we're staying in Brooklyn. I have this canvas, and I called my wife on the phone that morning, and I told her, "Have you been in New York?"
Yeah.
You know how crazy, how almost impossible it is to just talk to random strangers.
Yeah.
So I had this painting with me, and I called my wife in the morning, and I said, "I have something crazy. I'm going to take this painting. I'm going to go up to random strangers in Brooklyn, and I'm just going to tell them my story, tell them about the Wabi Sabi series, and then I'm going to photograph them." And
you're going up to random people?
Yeah. And I told her, I was like, I'm going to go up to random people, do that.
What in Brooklyn, you said?
In Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to take pictures of them just to prove that, like, I talked to these people, right?
Okay.
So I start my little adventure, and I told my wife, with the painting, I was either going to trade it, sell it, or give it away, right? So I start my little adventure. I'm going up to people in Brooklyn. I'm talking to a whole bunch of people. Some of them, don't give me the time of day, but there are some people that give me the time of day, and I have these great conversations. I photograph them with my work, and I go up to this area at this park, and there's like this jazz festival going on, and I'm standing next to this one guy, and he sees my painting, and he's like, "Hey, man, like, I like that painting. Tell me about it." So he turns out to be one of the event coordinators for Brooklyn Center of the Arts, and he was putting on that event. So he hears my story, and he's like, "Dude, you want to say that on stage?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, tell your story on stage when the band's over. Like, there's an audience." So the band plays. They get off. I get on. I have my painting, and I'm telling a story about, like, how I got started and the Wabi Sabi series, and network with all these people there, all within like 30, 40 minutes. So I get off stage. I'm on this like natural high, and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is New York for you, right? So I walk down a couple of blocks, and I see this street jazz band just kind of just playing on the street corner, and I'm just like watching them, enjoying the music, and in the corner of my eye, I see this dude, all New York stuff, turn the corner across the street, and I look over, and I'm like, nah, like, that can't be, right?
Yeah.
So I run across the street, and I almost get hit by a van, and I'm like, Spike Lee. And he turns around, and he's like, oh, hey, what's up? I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, I'm seeing you again. He's like, oh, yeah, no, that's cool. And I was like, no, dude, like, this is crazy because, I met you years ago. I'm not even from Brooklyn. Like, that's even crazier. Like, I'm not even from Brooklyn. This is my, third, fourth time in New York, and I'm running into you in the streets of New York again. Mm-hmm. And I told him the first time I met you, I was just starting off in my career, and I told you back then that I was just starting out. I was wanting to be somewhat on your level one day, and the night that I went back home from this trip, I started a series that has literally changed my life and career. And I was like, how crazy is it that now I'm in New York, being paid to be here, and then before I left, I told my wife I was going to bring a painting with me because you just never know what could happen in New York. And I told him, I was like, I could call her right now because I told her this morning I was going to have this adventure and that I was either going to trade it, sell it, or give it away. And I was like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we meet again.
That's crazy.
On this day, right here. I was like, it'd be an honor for me to give you this painting. And then he turns around with his like mouth like open, and he's like, dude, that is a crazy story. He's like, you're right. And he's like, I'd be honored to have that painting in my collection.
Damn.
And he's like, I'd love to continue to tell your story through your art. And we took a picture right in front of a mural that he was actually getting ready to unveil that celebrated like the 30th or 40th anniversary of the Do the Right Thing movie.
Wow.
And, like, everything was just right place at the right time. And that was like my New York Spike Lee story, dude.
Dude, that is so wild. Not even like just like the coincidence of that. Like, what are the chances?
I know, dude.
What are the chances, dude?
And I called my wife like right after, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like very emotional.
For sure.
I was just like, I told her, I was like, I told you I was gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like maybe. I told her like, no, like some stuff's gonna happen. It can happen, and it will happen. It's just like Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Like, what can happen will happen, and like I made that shit happen.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to wrap my head around that because it's like fucking New York City.
Do you do that a lot? Are you a manifester? Like I'm just gonna happen. I'm gonna put it into existence, and then it happens.
I just say I as cliche as it sounds, I just act from my heart. Like, I just act with that gut feeling.
Man, yeah, for sure.
Like stuff that's I've been able to do that I just think, oh, like it's the right thing to do, or I'm just gonna do it just because I want to do it.
Yeah.
And good things happen after that. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, it's kind of crazy to wrap my head around. Some stuff that happened this morning. I'll tell you off air about like some stuff that happened today, but like it's crazy, dude. You just treat people the way you want to be treated. Try your best to not be an asshole. Be easy to work with.
Yeah.
And just put good energy out there, dude. And life has this way of just working its way out, dude. And you know, a lot of times shit ain't gonna happen the way you want it to happen or when you want it to happen. But as long as you have like the perspective of like, you know, I'm just gonna keep doing the right thing. Even if I might not be busy, I'm gonna keep looking like I'm busy, because all you need is one person to acknowledge, like, damn, like that guy's doing shit.
Yeah,
you know?
dude.
And all you need is one opportunity, man. And that's how I see it. That's how I live it every day. I have this tattoo on my arm. It says fear, regret, not failure.
Wow.
And like every day I just live by that. Like I rather fail than just think, oh, I should have done that. Or
Yeah, man, that shoulda, woulda, coulda type of stuff. Because that stuff will like keep you awake at night. You know, all the regrets.
Yep.
You know, damn, that's so wild, dude. I want to go back because you said you were self-taught. I always thought like, okay, classes. You know, how do you learn? How do you even learn how to put a pen to paper? You know, paint on canvas. Like how do you learn that stuff? Mixing colors, all that stuff. So. Is there like an apprenticeship, or did you like on YouTube? Like how'd you get into like understanding the fundamentals of it?
YouTube, a lot of books, a lot of asking questions.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people willing to give information away.
Really?
And a lot of times it's finding the people that are successful at the place where you want to be one day, and asking them all the questions that you can.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to ask questions. Like even now, you know, I try my best to surround myself with people that are more successful than me and more smarter than me. And, you know, sometimes I do feel dumb because, like, you know, especially when people use words that I don't know, like I'm not afraid to ask, like, what does that mean?
Really?
You know? Yeah, because I feel like if you fake like you know stuff, like you're not learning, you know.
No, for sure. I mean, I fake like I know everything. I like when people talk about stuff. I was like, yeah. But I'm so afraid to ask questions to reveal how dumb I am, and I'm just like, no, I'm with this. I understand completely everything you're saying. Yeah, and of course I don't learn anything by that way, but also I don't embarrass myself.
Yeah, well, for me, like I feel like sometimes it's not, I guess, kind of embarrassing because sometimes I feel like, oh, I should know this. But at the same time, I also feel comfortable because it's like, well, I'm rather ask this guy or this person because it's like, you know, they're taking the time to, you know, sit with me or have me here at their place or this and that. So it's like I feel comfortable asking certain people questions. You know, I've even had an interaction one time where I was at an event and I was probably in a place where I was thinking like, wow, like, why am I here? You know, and you know, there were a whole bunch of different circles of people, but I remember having this one conversation, and this one guy used this one word that I forgot what word it was. But anyways, I had asked him. We're in a group conversation, right? And I was like, hey, what does that word mean? And like he was an asshole about it. He was like,
yeah, like, see, that's the thing.
Yeah, but
because you give people the opportunity to make an ass out of you, or like, you know, put a spotlight on your ignorance.
Yeah,
you know, and you don't want to do that.
And he made this like gesture, like, oh, like obviously like this gesture where it's like, oh, this guy's fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But then everyone else there was like, why didn't you just answer his question? Like he didn't know, and I was still engaging in the conversation. It was like he said a word that I didn't know, and I asked, and he was an asshole about it. Everyone else was like, man, like this guy's a fucking asshole. Like, you know what I mean? And someone else told me what the word meant, and everyone else just like kind of continued with the conversation, but then kind of like low key like shunned that guy out because he
revealed like who he is.
Yeah. So
you know?
I feel like don't be afraid of assholes. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're gonna face them, and I feel like I rather, even if I don't know the words, I rather just be confident in it.
Yeah.
And like,
see, my thing, like that situation was cool. Like everybody else kind of like understood, like he was the bad.
Yeah, they could have easily all just started.
Exactly. Like that would be my thing. Like, oh well, he doesn't like this guy. Okay, like none of us like this guy now. Like we all think this guy. Like that's my whole thing, and that probably will never happen.
It could have, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess it could. Like that's my fear. Is like 100% of the time it's gonna be like that, rather than like, no, everybody was on my side. Like somebody helped me out, and then we were all cool again. Like it didn't. Yeah.
Hey, but if that would have happened to me, I would have been more humbled.
Yeah. Do people do that? Like we're like, like if you ask them questions like, oh, how do you do that, or how do you make this look like that, dude? Are they like, man, that's like my secret, like my
Sometimes.
secret recipe, my secret, and like what, like you just gotta respect that, like anything, like, like do you have that? Like if somebody says, well, how do you do that? They're like, I wish I could tell you, but I can't tell you. That's
Yeah, no, I told one person one thing that I did, and then like they used it a lot, and then after that, I was like, I'm not telling nobody that no more. And
well, I mean, yeah, you should keep some things to yourself because you want to keep it as authentic, and you want when people see that go directly to you, and know like, oh, well, that's your piece.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Can we talk about street stuff? Because you do a lot of street stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only do you do paint to canvas and you do that for sale and for exhibits and all that stuff, but you also do a lot of street stuff. How do you feel when you see something that you put up and then maybe the next day, a couple of days later, it's like taken down?
Yeah, it's part of the game, man. It's a little upsetting just because, well, yeah, it's a little upsetting, but technically I didn't spend like a whole bunch of time on it. So
Okay.
It's not like one of my canvas pieces.
Is there a rush from that? Like, because like you got to do it quick because you're not supposed to be doing that stuff, right?
Well, I feel like if I do it, I kind of do it quick because I feel like,
okay.
I don't know. I feel like I do it quick, but there's some cases where I take my time because I don't want to like look too obvious. So I feel like you're better off like kind of just playing it cool.
Yeah.
Like if you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And that tends to help me more. And I don't know. I'm still kind of figuring that part out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really tested with that in the next 2 weeks because I'm going to be doing it in Dallas.
Really?
And I'm not too familiar with Dallas police, so it's going to be interesting.
Do they still like hassle people about that stuff? Because I mean, you see graffiti everywhere. But
Yeah.
like, it was funny. Is like because I saw something that I think you did on Cevallos and Alamo on that burned down building.
Yeah.
Right. And I was gonna like, but it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew about that. Okay, but on that same building, there's this guy. I don't even know what his tag is, but like. So he has his name out, and then I guess he was going to go back and do the decorations or like the add-ons to it. But on the bottom it says police came. Like I had a dip. I couldn't finish this. This is not what like my finished project, but police came rather than like.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, dude. So man, because I think. Were you ever into graffiti? Did you ever do that stuff? No. So it's just like
I've drawn up some stuff for like some friends back in the day.
Yeah,
but I didn't do any of that.
Okay, so yeah, because like when I saw that I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I saw it wasn't there, I was like, man, I wonder if that bums them out. Because but also it's kind of like. If it's there and then gone, you just know, like, well, a limited people got to enjoy that. A limited people notice that. And maybe, like I automatically knew that was yours.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to have. Like a stamp, like a trademark, like a...
Yeah, it's going to become iconic, dude, because especially now with the hats,
dude.
Like, I'm going to put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the city, you're going to run into it.
Yeah, dude, that's... And I mean, probably just because I know you and I follow you on IG, we met through comedy, and then I, followed through that. But like I see your stuff all over the place, pretty much, and I'm just like, man, that's really cool. I wonder if there's like, I mean, there has to be other artists that like have their trademark, like people could call, oh, well, that's a so and so piece, or that's a so and so. That's cool to have, man. Have you ever like? Do you do like scavenger hunts about your things?
I have. I do this thing called like the Trebla art drop, and
what's Trebla? What's Trebla art?
So Trebla is like I guess it's my other name.
Okay.
But Trebla stands for Time Resolves Everything But Love Answers. So I turned an acronym.
Oh.
Albert backwards.
Damn, dude. Damn, I'm so stupid. How did I not see that? Okay.
A lot of people don't see it, dude. And well, there's a joke, a premise that I'm working on because it's like it became an inside joke between my wife and I because I would run into people that follow me on IG and they're like, dude, like, love your work, blah, blah, blah. What does Trebla mean? I'm like, just my name backwards, dude. And like the look of disappointment, dude, on their hearts was just like, and it became like so disheartening because, me and my wife would be out and someone would come up to me and my wife would just be like, it's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it would. And one day, you know,
Did you get that from Oprah? Isn't her thing Harpo or something like that?
I didn't know that. Harpo?
Yeah, her production thing is like, right? Oprah backwards, I think. No? Am I making that up?
I don't know. I didn't know that.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's Harpo Productions.
I think so.
Well, probably. I guess
Oprah.
I don't know
Harpo.
if well, subliminally, right? We
Maybe.
watched enough Oprah where it's just like backwards.
And I knew that from a long because I don't even know if she's still on the air, but I remember like at the end of her thing it would say Harpo. I was like Harpo, and then it was like hit me like, oh, that's Oprah backwards.
Damn.
And I wrote it down. I don't know how I didn't see it, man. That's genius though, man.
Yeah, so I got drunk off of wine one night, and I remember just trying to come up with an acronym, and I couldn't even get past like the R's at one point because it was just like so stupid.
Yeah.
But when I finally like said it in my head, like it just came to me, and I was like, damn, like that's way better than my name backwards.
Yeah.
And so yeah, time resolves everything, but love answers. And so yeah, I go by Albert, but I also go by Trebla.
Nice, dude. Were you into poetry and stuff? Did you write that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Again, I do a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, man, and it all kind of like bleeds into like everything else that you do. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing to do, man. What do you when you start a piece? Is it start to finish, like, or do you like touch up a little piece here and then start on something else?
It's a little bit of everything because at one point, I think at most I've worked on like 12 to 16 pieces at a time.
Really?
Yeah.
How? Like, how do you give what needs to go to this and needs to go to that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, like, if we were to paint or draw or do anything, it would be start to finish, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it's just like, oh, here, like I don't know. It's
Well, how
like
do you choose what gives what? Like, do you say, okay, this is going to be this theme, this is going to be this theme? Like, what's the process of doing 12 to 16 pieces at once?
Everything's intuitive, dude. So like so when I'm in the studio, anything that I'm working on, I guess a part of like this mentality for my process is to push my philosophy is push myself to the point of uncertainty, and once I get there, try my best to follow through with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, it allows me to make faster decisions, and it allows me to analyze what I create from that. Mm-hmm. Because through that process, I'm doing shit that I sometimes think isn't going to work, or things that I think is stupid, but I push through it and end up learning so much more along the way. And I was telling my friend Kike, who's an amazing clothing or just designer in general, it's like by making decisions like that gives yourself so much more room to grow and analyze. Because if you're so content with making the right decision all the time, you let's say you do make a mistake or if it fails, doesn't give you that much room to learn from. Mm-hmm. So by making these like quicker decisions, impulsive, intuitive decisions, gives you a lot more room to analyze and try to figure out, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Why does this work? Why doesn't it work?
Yeah.
And as an artist, it's like I could always do another painting. I could always do another drawing. And again, I'm on number like 995 in the series.
Wow, dude.
So it's like having that mentality has helped get me to where that number is today. Because if I was very critical on the entire process, I'd probably still be back in like the 300s.
Yeah. No, for sure. Do you paint in silence or music, or what do you got?
Music, podcasts, comedy, primarily jazz.
Oh yeah,
a little bit of everything.
Jazz makes sense. Yeah, for sure. So like with music, a song's never finished; it's just abandoned. Same thing with comedy. A joke's never done; it's just abandoned. Mm-hmm. Do you ever like finish a piece, sell it, give it away, or just like stop touching it, and then you see like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have added that, I could have went this way, or you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Do you have that too, or do you just like when it's done, moving on?
I again, a little bit of both. Like it's done, but then there's, thankfully, I'm able to like catalog and archive like my stuff, and it's like I'll revisit the images, and I'll be like, oh, like I like that decision that I made, again, not sure why he did it, but let me try to not recreate it, but let me try to put myself in the same mindset where I could kind of continue to play off of whatever I was thinking of at that time.
Yeah.
And I've just been able to do so many different things. I just feel like just the ability to like fuck up and make mistakes is what I thrive off of, because I got it tattooed on my arm, so it's like just fail. I try to fail as much as I can, because there's a book that I love, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and in the book it says, with every failure comes a seed. With every failure comes a seed for success. So I see any painting or anything that I do, it's something profound in that.
Have you ever finished a painting and like just like, okay, this is just for me, I'm not selling it, I'm not giving it away?
I have a couple pieces like that, or I have a couple pieces like that. One of them hangs in my son's room above his bed. Yeah, that one's a really crazy story. It's really intense. It's about my grandfather, and my son's named after my grandfather. So I feel like it was a whole nother reason why I named him after my grandfather. It was because of the creation of that painting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, what makes a painting like, okay, this has to stay? Or have you ever started a painting with the intention of I'm keeping this? This is no. It's always at the end where you realize something and you're like, I gotta keep that. That's weird, because like that's like a weird like communication between something that you created, visually, the art, where it speaks to you and like it tells you like, yeah, you can't let this go. That's so weird, dude. I mean, does it happen a lot? No.
Especially as a full-time artist, I gotta let that shit go.
Yeah. Like, oh, this means a lot, but I also need to pay the light bill. Stuff like sentimental, sure, but dollar bills, man.
I got bills.
Yeah, dude. That's rad, man. What do you got coming up? Like, what's future stuff you got?
Oh, dude, I got a lot of shit going on. So I'm gonna be the featured artist for the Austin Home and Garden Show on the 23rd. Or on the 24th to the 26th. Yeah. And then I'm starting a mural on the west side with the Masa Collective and my boy Nomar, who curated this mural festival on the west side on the 30, I think it's like the 29th through the 31st. Well, I'm starting mine on the 27th because I have a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm going to Dallas on the 28th. Through the 29th to do some street art out there, and then coming back for a show on the 30th. I'm all over the place. I got a show here, a private opening on the 30th, and then I got a public group show opening in the Oak Cliff Culture Art Center in Dallas on the 1st of April.
Oak Cliff?
Yeah, Oak Cliff. And
living the dream, man. That's fucking amazing.
Just doing a whole bunch of art stuff, man, and just staying busy. It was funny because the other day, yesterday actually, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, man, I gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. And she was like, well, which one are you gonna choose? I was like, choose? I've been praying, I've been working my butt off, since I started for like these kind of weeks, so I was like, I'll be tired as hell, but I'm gonna get to every single one of them.
Yeah, dude. We'll wrap up with this. Anything else you want to share before I ask the last question?
No. Or just follow you, whatever it is that you're doing, any field that you're pursuing, any dream that you're pursuing. Just know that it takes longevity, determination, and sacrifice. And if you're not willing to do any of those three, just go find something else to do until you're able to commit to those.
Yeah, for sure. What was the one moment or moments, time, anything, where you knew I am on the right path? I am doing exactly. This is the real thing.
One of the first moments was when I helped raise like over 10 grand for breast cancer, and like a year and a half before that, I was struggling. I was on the streets, doing this and that, trying to sell my work for whatever I could get. And just like a year and a half later, my work was helping people who needed the help, financially, through my work, and being able to give back in that way for me was a big symbol of like what I am doing has value, what I'm doing is helping people, and what I'm doing is providing like some positive energy for people who are looking for it or need it. And it was like, like all the stuff that I've been wanting to do with myself, my soul, my energy, my entire life, like was being fulfilled through my art.
Yeah, dude.
And that for me was like a big moment where it's like, yeah, like I'm doing the right thing.
Dude, that's rad, man. Thank you for coming in, dude. This was fun. I enjoyed this. I had a good time. Yeah, man. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Laters.